Welcome to Bugzilla for Humans. We're going to take about the next 15 minutes and walk through the basics of navigating Bugzilla. I'm assuming that you don't have very much background here, but even so I'm going to blow through things a little bit quickly. So it's a video. If you need to, feel free to watch it more than once. First things first. My name is Johnathan Nightingale. I'm Johnathan Bugzilla on IRC and email and basically everywhere else. This is me. Oh, actually, this is me. I'll be your tour guide. So you want to use Bugzilla? That is a lie. Nobody wants to use Bugzilla. It's very complicated and daunting and seems filled with information that no human is meant to understand. It's also full of very terrible human beings. But it turns out that Bugzilla is also one of the strongest tools we have. It scales to hundreds of thousands of bugs. We've tried other bug trackers, but we haven't seen a lot that can stand up to the load we put on it. It can be molded to suit a variety of purposes. It's open source. We have people in the community who understand how to manipulate it. And it's the devil we know. Moving to something else right now would be really hard. We've learned how to work with it, and the point of this video is to help you work with it too. And at the end of the day, once you come to understand it, you can make vague movie references that may or may not be hip by the time your viewers are watching this. Let's get started. So the first thing you need to do is create an account. The good news is this part is really easy. Just go to the main page of Bugzilla. It may or may not look like this by the time you get there. Click on the Open a New Account button. The only piece of information it wants from you is an email address. And then you'll go through the standard click here to verify your email address, and you're off to the races. At which point you'll start getting bug mail. And you will be sad. But I'll talk to that later. Review. It's scary, but it's important, and getting started is really easy. I hope you're still with me. Alright, filing a bug. When the first time you try to file a bug, you're going to see a screen that looks like this and tries to sort of steer you so that you can figure out where this bug needs to be filed. As you get more advanced, you'll turn off this screen and you'll go to the screen that lists all the products, and you'll once again feel that sense of terror deep in your gut because there is just simply too much here to process. Then, of course, when it comes to actually filing the bug, this is the basic form. This is the form where we think we're only showing you the easy stuff. And then when you click that Show Advanced Fields button at the top, it turns to this. Look at that. You can't even see the description box within this first page of fields. Don't worry too much about it. We'll get through this together. Remember, the point of filing a bug is to get it resolved, right? Let that be your guide. You're not filing this bug to do a bunch of paperwork. You're filing this bug to report a problem, to make a piece of software better, or to make a request that somebody else can sort of fulfill for you. So don't get daunted in the details. Here are the things to keep in mind. Your CC list matters. So every bug, you can attach other people to it. You can carbon copy them. And all that means is that they'll start getting email when the bug changes, just like you are. Managing that CC list, especially in the early days, super important, because if you CC the right people onto the bug, it doesn't actually matter too much where it lands. They've got more context rattling around in their brain than you. They've gone through this process before. CC your manager if you're not sure. CC people that you know work in that general area. If those people see the bug, they'll move it to where it needs to go so that you don't have to fight so much with the next important thing, which is figuring out where to put it. Everything in Bugzilla lives in a product and a component. So the products are very high-level things like Firefox, Thunderbird, and the components are pieces of that. So inside of Firefox, there's a menus component. The problem is sometimes it's hard to know. If you see a problem with Firefox, you might want to file it in the Firefox component. But if the problem is that a web page isn't rendering properly, well, that might actually be in the core component where we put all of the guts of Gecko, the engine that underlies Firefox. So this is a bit of a learned skill. But again, if your CC list is strong, people can help you out. Make your best guess. I know people who've been with the project for 10 years still have problems choosing the right component. Your summary matters a lot. If you describe the bug well, if that first line articulates the problem you're having, people are much more ready to engage and think about where within their purview that problem might lie and start to sort of freewheel on what the answers might be and what the bug might look like. Put some thought into it. If you're filing a bug to get your blog added to Planet Mozilla, don't have a summary that says add my blog to Planet Mozilla. That's what every bug summary looks like. Say add Johnathan Nightingale's blog to Planet Mozilla. At least that gives us some way of distinguishing. People understand what's different between your bug and the 700 other bugs that have been filed that look very similar. Remember, your job here is to help get the problem solved, and that means helping the people who are going to solve it. And that's what the last bullet comes down to. Helpfulness matters. Lay it out, help them help you. This is what not to do. Reading a bug. So filing a bug is some amount of complexity. Reading a bug is even harder. Look at all this. There's tons of stuff here, and it can be very hard when you load a bug. When somebody says to you, whether you're in engineering or not, can you go take a look at this bug? This is the first thing you're going to see, and you're just going to fall over dead. But the good news is you can ignore most of this. It's here for bookkeeping. It's here for the experts. But for you, when you're just getting started, look at that. All right? You get the bug number, and you got the summary. Now you see why a summary is so important. We put it in bold. We put it at the top of the bug list. So make sure that that is well descriptive. The status of the bug, is it new? Has it been assigned to someone working on it? Has it been already resolved and you're evaluating whether to reopen it? Who reported it and when it was last modified, or sort of a good sort of sense of, I don't know, the quality of the bug, the activity of the bug. And then the whiteboard and keywords. These are going to feel in the early days like they're interchangeable, and to a large extent they are. The only difference is that keywords are sort of structured. We create new keywords. That's an explicit choice we make, and so there's one called regression. And when you add those keywords, they show up in all kinds of people's custom searches. Whiteboard's a little more fluid. You put something in whiteboard, it can be text, it can be a de facto keyword that we just haven't bothered to create as a keyword yet. But if you look at these sort of 6 pieces of information right here, you got a good sense of what the bug's about and how the bug is behaving right now. As you scroll down the page a little bit, the next thing you see is the patch history. If you're an engineer, this is more relevant than if you aren't. But basically, this is a history of every patch that's been attached, review and super review and branch approval and things like that we are just not going to talk about today. So if you're an engineer, that'll be for next time. And if you're not an engineer, just pretend you didn't listen to the last 28 seconds. Comments. This is where the actual activity of the bug is, and it's everything that's below that sort of bookkeeping metadata. Mostly these just look like comments. There's a bunch of stuff hanging around the edges, but if you just look at these as comments, it's a nice chronological history of the activity in the bug. And usually if someone says to you, can you go take a look at that bug and tell me what you think we should do, this is where you're going to spend most of your time, understanding the context that other people have created before you. I do want to call out a couple of little pieces, though, because they're handy. Obviously, every comment is marked with who made it and when they did, but they're also numbered, and those numbers are links. So if you want to direct someone in IRC or an IM or in an email or whatever, you want to say, go check out that crazy thing that David Bolter said, you can just right-click on comment 22 and copy the link and paste that, and it'll jump right to that spot for anybody who clicks the link. So that's a little bit handy. You can click reply if you want to reply to someone, and you can see that David's replied to someone here. The quoted text is in purple, and then his text is there in black. And the last thing I wanted to mention here is that you'll notice Bugzilla tries to be a little bit smart. If it sees you say bug 513715, it figures out that probably you're referring to other bugs in our bug tracking system, and so it links that. And in this case, it's crossed it out because that bug's already been resolved. But really, don't worry if stuff is already starting to leak out of your brain. The point is, this is where the discussion happens. Bugzilla tries to be smart and helpful. You'll learn to use these tools as they become necessary. Review. Bugzilla is scary, but it's important, and getting started is really easy. I hope you're still with me on that one. Filing bugs is about helping people help you. All right? That's really important. Just keep that forefront of your brain for the first 50 bugs you file, and you will be a ninja in no time. And reading bugs is about learning what to ignore. And as for what you should ignore most of it. Finding bugs. Okay, now we're getting into more exciting stuff. There are 2 or 3 different search interfaces in Bugzilla, because of course there would be. One is complete and terrible. It looks like this. It lets you specify every field and every parameter, and there are Boolean charts down off the screen that you can't even see. Like, if you need to be able to specify with this level of precision exactly the bug you want to find, this is the tool for you. It's just terribly complicated, and for 99% of searches, you don't need it. The other way we have for searching Bugzilla is beautiful, but as I say, it only works 99% of the time. It looks like this. Look at that. It's lovely. It's so diminutive. It's so efficient. You search for words by typing in the words, and it will search in all the places it should search. It'll search in the summary, it'll search in the status whiteboard, it'll search keywords and things like that. If you want to constrain a search, or if you want to search for some field that isn't included by default, like the product name, just put a keyword in front of it. Product : Firefox, reporter : Johnathan, real player. Like, that's going to find me all the bugs in the Firefox product that Johnathan reported. It's it makes me weep. And if you're not sure what the keywords are, just guess. Most of them are the natural things. Reporter is reporter. Assignee is assignee. But if you guess wrong, that's okay, because the result page you're going to get back is going to tell you, I don't know what that keyword is, and here's a list of all of them. So you can just get that cheat sheet anytime you need it. But most of the time, these searches will just fly off. It is really worth spending some time getting used to quick search. More review. It's scary, but it's important, and getting started is really easy. Filing bugs, make them helpful. Learn to ignore what you don't need, and learn to love quick search. Everyone still with me? We're halfway done. Pro tips. All right, first pro tip is etiquette. Here's a URL that you can't click on because this is a video. But what that URL says is to remember that you represent the community. Okay? Bugzilla is full of human beings, and believe it or not, most of them are there because they're trying to be helpful. Even the ones that aren't actually being helpful are mostly there because they're passionate. Sometimes we get trolls, but mostly even the people who are swearing because they're frustrated about a product that they really love. And remembering that will make you a better human being, probably, but certainly a better ambassador of the community. That means that you don't have to win, right? If people come in throwing temper tantrums, you've got all the context, you've got all the background, and you've got all the friends in the Mozilla project. So it's easy for you to just tear a strip off them. But remember that at the end of the day, our purpose here is to make an awesome product, an awesome family of products to make the internet better. So if there's usefulness in their complaints, in their comments, try and lead them towards being productive instead of just beating them up. But you also don't have to lose, all right? We don't run this project democratically. We don't take votes. And we certainly don't have to humor everyone who comes through the door having a temper tantrum. If somebody's doing that on your block and you don't think that their usefulness outweighs their pain, feel no obligation imposed by me to treat them with anything other than dismissal. You're a human being too. Next pro tip, finding bug mail addresses. So this comes up a lot. You'll want to take my earlier advice and add somebody to a CC list, or maybe you're actually going to assign a bug to someone. So you type in part of their name, you don't know their whole name, you don't know which email address they used for Bugzilla, and what you end up seeing is a page that looks like this that says, oh look, the string you gave me is non-unique, and it gives you a very long picker, and even still, that may not have all of them. If you pick something really generic, like John, there are going to be enough of those in Bugzilla that it's only going to show you the first 50,000 or something, and after that you're just going to have to constrain the search more. One thing to remember is that substrings work. So you don't have to give full addresses. You can say something like gavin.sharp, and that will match all the gavin.sharps, but conveniently enough, right now, there's only one of those. And in fact, you don't even need all of gavin.sharp. If you want to add him to a bug, vin.sh is actually a substring which turns out to be unique. That's stupid, and there's no reason you should have to memorize that, but because it's the system that works, and because it's a problem we all have to solve, we all do this stupid thing. So when you're reading a bug, you'll see this. Everybody's name is beside their comment, but after their name, they've got this cryptic little nickname, often in square brackets, often preceded by a colon. Now, why do they do that? They do it because that system basically always gets you a unique hit. If you need to copy Vlad on something, you don't need to remember that he's Vladimir at P.O. Box. You can just do :Vlad. And probably he's the only one who's done that because it's not typically part of an email address, so it's probably just something he's done very deliberately. This works really well when you know people from IRC, but you don't know their bug mail name. Just colon and then their IRC nick, probably that gets them. You can do that yourself by just going into your Bugzilla preferences where it asks for your full name. Instead of saying that your full name is Awesome Mick Awesome, you will say your name is Awesome Mick Awesome square bracket colon awesome to belabor the point. All right, next pro tip, watching. This one's kind of creepy. If you go into your Bugzilla email preferences, you can actually watch other people. So this can be really helpful when you're getting started. If you're new and you're, let's say, in an engineering group and there are other people working on the same stuff you are, maybe you just want to add their bug mail addresses to your watch list. And then anytime they get bug mail from any of the thousands of bugs they're working on, copied on, otherwise involved with, you'll get that email too. And it's a fire hose. I mean, it's really a lot to take in, but it'll help you see the flow of the stuff that you care about. Creepy but useful. In fact, you can do a step more. In addition to following individuals, you can sort of follow a component through this back door, right? So on any page for any bug that you look at anywhere in the projects we typically work on, there's a QA contact. And you notice the email address there is pretend. menus@firefox.bugs is not a real email address. But every component in Bugzilla has one of these QA contacts, and at least within the Firefox and Gecko projects, we don't screw with them. We don't actually use them to represent the person in QA that you should contact. It's a very broken behavior of ours, but it has this nice side effect. Because we never changed that, if you stalk this pretend user, if you add menus@firefox.bugs to your watch list, you'll start getting bugs for bug mail for everything in that component, right? Because the QA contact is added by default. It's on every bug in that component. And so if you're watching that fictional human being, you're getting all the email that they would be. So if you're in charge for a particular component, whether it's a technical component or not, doing this can let you stay on top of new bugs as they're reported instead of having to sort of watch for that very manually. Which brings me to maybe the most important pro tip, managing your bug mail. So by default, Bugzilla assumes that you want to know everything about every bug that you are in any way related to, and you do not. If you go back into your user preferences, there's a tab called Email Preferences, and when you look at it, you'll see this very daunting table because clearly, as you've learned by this point, Bugzilla is the land of very daunting tables. Nevertheless, what this does, if you take a second to understand it, is say, okay, based on my relationship to the bug, here's when I want to get email about it. So when you're assigned to a bug, you probably want to know everything that happens to that bug. I certainly want to know if it's been resolved or opened. I certainly want to know if the priority has changed or if new comments have been added or if new attachments have been added. But as you distance yourself more from direct interaction with the bug, once you get to the point where you're just CC'd on the bug, you don't need as many of those status emails. Mostly if you're CC'd on a bug, you want to watch it unfold and you want to see when it's resolved. You don't care too much if the status of it changed or if the target milestone changed. You really want to see how is my bug progressing. At the start, if you just want to get a feel for it, leave everything on default and be buried in it for a couple days. But you'll come running to this pain pretty soon because it's how you reduce your bug mail to a sane level. This is it. This is the final review slide, folks. Bugzilla is scary, but it's important. If you're anywhere near Mozilla, it's the lingua franca. It's the thing you need to know. When you're filing bugs, help me help you. And when you're reading bugs, learn to ignore what you don't need. Learn your quick search, manage your bug mail, and be nice. Now go set up your account.